Hello everyone and welcome to a special edition of the Indie Author Life Show. I'm your host MG Hunt and today we are talking about all the things that happened in my Indie Author life for 2025. The day I'm recording this, it is midway through December and I can't believe the year that I've had. Well, this episode will focus on me talking about what this year has been like for me and what's to come with not only my publications and work, but also what's in store for the Indie Author Life Show. So let's get into it. So if I could think about one word that encapsulated the whole of 2025 for me, which is hard to do because there's so many wonderful words that could describe this year. But for me, I chose the word invigorating because I think that I found a new strength in self-publishing, writing, and in my business practices this year. Also with my creativity too, I think that this year I found a new passion for writing stories that I didn't think I would be able to. Yes, I still have to grapple with the self-doubt, and I think that is a common challenge for all of us indies, all of us creatives in general, but I definitely found a sense of reinvigoration in my own practice and breathed some new life into what I do. So let's get into it. For the last couple of years, I had been going back and forth around how to publish my debut novel, Still Waters Run Deep, which I have a copy with me right here, right now. It's on the shelf. I'll grab it. Yes. This one, Still Waters Run Deep in all its shiny cover glory, foil cover glory. For those who don't know, I'll give the recap. You probably already know by now if you've been watching the Indie Author Life for a little while now. It took me many years to publish Still Waters Run Deep. I was with a publisher that I then had to part ways with due to some disagreements and ethical concerns, which was a personal thing, and I think that it did teach me a lot about the publishing world with that kind of thing, and perhaps in the future I'll get into it. But then I was wondering what the next step would be in publishing. So I decided to go with the self-publish route, and I made that decision last year because, as many of us know in this space, the decision to self-publish is a huge one and it takes a lot of planning. It is self-directed. You don't have the timeline, I guess, of a traditional publishing house over your head, but you've got to make those decisions for yourself and go with your own timeline. So I made that decision last year and it took about maybe, over 12 months to bring this to life to when it was officially released on the 25th of April 2025. Then I had a book launch at Holmes Glen Institute for Still Waters Run Deep, which was so much fun. Such a special moment for me. A culmination of 6 years of work put into one beautiful book that I'm so proud of. So what a year that it has been, and for me it was the year of Still Waters Run Deep, and Still Waters Run Deep will continue to be a fixture in my life and will go down in my history of the first full-length book that I wrote, because I never thought I could. Definitely, I would call myself, yes, a creative spirit, but I always thought that would be limited to drawings and illustrations and graphic design that I do. I never thought I could publish a book, but I did. And so also publishing Still Waters Run Deep opened up a lot of opportunities for me to create some graphics and illustrations for the book. Not only creating the cover myself, and getting the help of the printer that I use, Calligraphic, to bring the silver foil on the text to life that I wanted. But also I can show you a little bit here, and maybe I'll put this on the screen too. Some illustrations that I did of the characters, because perhaps you've seen some of my stuff online. I love to draw. I love the cartoon, anime, manga aesthetic. I've grown up with that, with the TV shows that I used to watch and the drawing styles that I used to emulate. As a child from the 90s, Pokemon was a massive phenomenon in my life. Yes, I still have Pokemon cards too, in a special binder. That's another tidbit about me. But I love that aesthetic. So for people that are just listening to the show, go check out my Instagram, which is Ismonia on Instagram, so at ISMONIA, and you'll be able to see some of my illustrations on there. So this illustration that I have in front of me features some of the main cast of Still Waters Run Deep. We've got Asta in the middle, Zahn on this side here, and Inks on the other side of Asta. So this is one of my favourite illustrations to do, and I have created several more. Some of them haven't been uploaded onto my social media pages as of yet, because that is one thing that I feel like I am always a little hamster on a wheel to try and get content out, and I find myself maybe slipping off the wheel or spinning off the wheel sometimes, where I just kind of forget to post some of my illustrations. But I wish I could do more of that. So maybe next year in 2026, you'll see some more illustrations from me on that Instagram page, and also my main page as well, if it's related to my books. So some of the things that I'm working on behind the scenes, well, I have been working on my next full-length manuscript, which has been in the works since 2023, the end of 2023. I remember actually I was on my honeymoon for my wedding in Vanuatu, and I was sitting there really getting stuck into this next project, and maybe to some people's dismay, it is not book 2 of Still Waters Run Deep, but that is certainly going to be something that's in the works, and it already has started to be in the works. But my writing has been focused on my next full-length manuscript, which is titled Darkness in the Flesh, and that story is focusing on the antagonist, the evil character from Still Waters Run Deep, whose name is Gatira. So Darkness in the Flesh will be coming out in 2026. I have booked in with my editor. That manuscript will be sent off in June to her. Shout out to Laura, the amazing Laura from Hummingbird Editing. My love, oh my goodness, you are amazing. She's had an amazing year as well. Oh my goodness. So anyone who wants some quality editing for their self-published work, you've got to check her out. But Still Waters Run Deep was a massive effort to get through. It took me many years to do it, and now the same is probably going to be said for Darkness in the Flesh. But I'm hoping to, well, I will be. I have to manifest, you know. You can't just say I hope, you got to say I will. Darkness in the Flesh will be coming out towards in the later half of 2026, and it will be hopefully a project that takes me 3 years rather than 6 years to release. So yeah, that's a 50% improvement, I would say. I am notoriously a slow writer. That's fine by me. I'm very much coming to terms with that. I don't like rushing when it comes to writing, and I also find that for me, writing is something that I probably haven't had as much, maybe professional experience in some ways to put it. Like, creative writing is something that I never studied at a tertiary level, and we really didn't do much of it when I was at high school as well. I did do a Bachelor of Arts, so writing essays was something that I had to do quite often. But when it comes to illustration and graphic design, I have a I have professional qualifications in that. So my practice, it seems that I can get into the zone a lot quicker and easier for creating visuals rather than writing. It's not to say that I don't enjoy writing, I very much do, but I think that is one thing that I'm learning how to do, is to harness some of the skills in channeling my creativity that I use in my professional practice for illustration and graphic design into writing, because it is quite different and it does use a different part of my brain. So that's something that I've been learning about with my own practice this year. Also in development is my first foray into romantasy, which I never thought I would say. I mean, look, it's a project that I'm writing on that is still probably in the young adult category. Yes, it will be in the young adult category. I don't know why I said probably. Between two characters from Still Waters Run Deep, and it is a short story, and I'm forcing myself to make it a short story. I said that about Darkness in the Flesh. I said to myself when I started, it's going to be a 10,000 word project. Well, I'm currently sitting at 95,000 words for Darkness in the Flesh, so that is not a short story anymore. But for the other project that I'm working on, which is called Air and Flame, that will definitely be a short story, which is going to be a part of an anthology that will come out next year as well. So I'm looking forward to that. But that story focuses on how two of the characters in Still Waters Run Deep formed their romance, how it all began. So that story will focus on that, and that's why I'm calling it romantasy, because it does follow a lot, it heavily relies on the romance that was explored between, that will be explored between two of those characters. So Air and Flame is the title, which I've said before, which might give away who those characters are if you have read Still Waters Run Deep. Maybe you can remember who was an air affinity and who was a fire affinity. The air and the flame. Yeah. We get it. Anyway, so I'll let you do your own conclusions for that. So that is what I've currently got in the works. So let's go through the events that happened in 2025 in regards to book launches, author signing events, and other general events that I attended, because this was the first year that I really put myself out there to go and attend some author events, not only as a signing author, but also as someone who wants to support all the local indie authors in my state. Well, being in Melbourne, there's a lot of book events and amazing authors in this city that I get to check out. Also bookshops too that have launched. So I'm very spoiled for choice. One of these days though, I think I would love to go interstate just to go visit some bookshops. I have to go take myself on a holiday to the sunny coast. I think it's in the sunny coast. I'm so sorry if I get the location wrong for this particular bookshop, but Tales and Tomes, oh my goodness, I've been seeing so much about them online, how they were I think they were voted one of the leading online bookshop retailers in Australia, one of the top 25. That is amazing, because I believe they sell mostly indie, or they support a lot of indie publishers out here, a lot of indie authors in Australia. So I've got my eye on Tales and Tomes. I need to make a trip up north to go see that wonderful bookstore. There's plenty of them all around Australia as well, and I'm so thankful that Still Waters Run Deep and Elara and the Passing, my other little short story, have been available to be purchased in so many different bookshops. So, I mean, we've got one of my dreams was to definitely get my book in one of the Australia's largest book retailers, which is Dymocks. So shout out to Dymocks Knox City for stocking Still Waters Run Deep. That was a dream come true. To see your book on a book shelf of a shop that you have perused for many, many years, no words could really describe how that feels. It's just amazing. I do kind of get a bit speechless and somewhat emotional thinking about it, because it just felt like something that maybe could never happen, or I didn't think it could happen, but it did. So that is one thing that did happen this year for me, was getting my book stocked in not only Dimmicks, but also some fantastic other bookshops around not only Victoria, but in so many different states of Australia. So I think one of the first bookshops that signed me on to sell my books was the Woodland Collective. I'm going to make sure I get that right, because I don't want to be mispronouncing. Woodland Collective, am I correct? Yes, Woodland Collection. Sorry. Was the Woodland Collection in Bendigo. That was the first shop that signed on both Ilara and The Passing and Still Waters Run Deep, and that was the start of this year. I was honoured. I was so proud of myself for doing that. So it was a momentous achievement for me to have my books in a bookshop. Then after that, I think I applied, or however it came to be, the next shop to stock my books was the Indie Realm in Western Australia. That's the other side of the entire country, and they wanted to stock my books. So that was the next bookshop this year that stocked my books. And from then on, after my book, Still Waters Run Deep, was officially released, then the book appeared in so many other bookshops around Victoria, but also interstate. So what a dream it has been to have this distribution happen for me. So as far as events go, oh my goodness, I have been moving around. So I have been running around different parts of the state, and even interstate, because I did my first interstate book event this year, which was incredible. So let's get into some of the highlights of the events this year. The first official event that wasn't my own book launch was actually the Veranda Sessions signing at Grace and Louis Booksellers in Emerald, Victoria, which, if you're not familiar with Emerald, it is a beautiful town, well, I guess suburb, that's maybe 45 minutes from Melbourne CBD. It's around the Dandenong Ranges, and it is beautiful. There's also the Lost Woods Market that I think runs, maybe I think it's every second Saturday of the month, and Grace and Louis Booksellers likes to tie up a Veranda Sessions sort of event. So an author will sit out the front of the shop and sign copies of their books while the market's also running. So it's kind of like making the most of perhaps a higher influx of people that come into the town that day, which of course it does get very busy at the Lost Woods Market. So if you're thinking of going, I think they've actually now put in stipulation that you have to buy a ticket to even enter the market. So I think that's to keep a cap on how many people can visit, because it is epic. It is such a cool market. I actually went and saw a psychic there this year. That's another thing. That is another story for another day, because that blew my mind. But anyway, Lost Woods Market, love that. But Grace and Louis Booksellers that was the first place I did a book signing that was different to my book launch, and it was so cool. I loved it. It was a short event, 2 hours, perfect for me, because sometimes these long days, it can be a lot. Some of the author events, it can be very long and tiring, but that's another thing that I'll get into for this video, about how I've dealt with some of the big author signing events that I've done. I've learnt a lot about this stuff. So that was my first one. The next one that I attended was actually in Ballarat. So again, it wasn't a town that was my hometown of Melbourne, city rather, the city of Melbourne. But I went to Ballarat, and that was held by the wonderful women over at Coven Press. Shout out to those incredible people who ran this event. It was such a joy to go to the amazing historic town of Ballarat. I had never been before, which is crazy because it's only an hour and a half from where I live, but I just hadn't properly been, besides a stopover in Ballarat on the way to other towns. So that was so beautiful to go and stay there. It was a 2-day event, and I spoke on a panel with another author, Paula Gleason, who was a traditionally published author, and we talked about the indie industry and a breakdown over that. So it was kind of a little bit of maybe a back and forth in some ways about the discussions between the difference between self-publishing and traditional publishing. And that was really great to chat to Paula about her process of being a traditionally published author and what that looks like for her. She's amazing. Go check out her books as well. And attending the book launch, I was with a lot of Ballarat local authors as well. Shout out to them because they all made me feel so welcome. And it was such an amazing time at All Booked Out. I hope that they do it again in 2026 because I certainly would love to be a part of it for 2026 and make my way up to Ballarat. It was in July last year. It was in July this year, so maybe that will be on again in 2026, but we shall see. So then after that, I also did a group signing with 4 of my other favourite indie authors out there. I signed alongside Mandy Contos, Rachel O'Rourke, SK Stapper and SK May, and we all signed at Novel Nook in Yarra Glen, which of course that is another beautiful town in Victoria, just like an hour outside of Melbourne in the Yarra Valley. Amazing. Beautiful bookstore. If you're ever around there, you should do a little day trip where you go to the Yarra Valley Chocolate Factory, I think it's called. Go to a winery, then go to Yarra Glen and check out some of the books. So I've got your holiday plans sorted there. But yes, amazing experience to do a group signing as well because I'd never done one before. So that was a lot of fun signing with some other incredible indie authors. Check out all of them as well. I'll put all that information in the show notes too. Then my next big book signing event was Sweet Love Book Fair. Oh my goodness. That was, I think, my first taste into what it's like to be in a group, like not just a group signing, but a designated event with, I think there was over maybe 30 different authors there, to sit with all of them and have people come in as VIPs as well in the special VIP section to come around and buy your books. And that was a massive day, but it was so rewarding because I still felt like, yes, it was a big event where there was lots of people. It was quite loud in the hall that we had. It still felt like I was able to talk to so many different authors there, but also the customers too. And I had lots of discussions with other authors there about their indie author life process and what it's like to be an indie author, and just seeing what they were putting out on their market stalls as well, or their tables, was really cool for inspiration around how I can better set up my table for signing events. And then after that, I did the Adelaide Indie Author Book Fair, which was held by Green Hill Press, and that was incredible. I'd never been to Adelaide before, and I think I'm in love. Like, it is such an incredible city. Beautiful food, amazing people. So well done. This book event was very organized. Lots of a big range of indie authors as well. And the vibes were amazing. So where this particular book event was held it was called Plant 4 in the suburb of Bowen or Bowden. I hope I'm saying that right. Bowden. Sorry for all my Adelaide friends out there. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that suburb. But it is the bottom level of this complex has like lots of food, not trucks, but similar to like a food court, but it's not a shopping centre. So lots of food, places to grab food around this seating area. But then the upstairs part is kind of a events space. So that's where all of us authors were, and it was so great. The space was perfect because it really allowed for people to come in, grab their usual food and coffee and on their routine, doing their daily routines, and then go, oh, what's this book event going on, and just toddle up upstairs and see what's going on. So it was very well done, an excellent location, and I really hope that I'll be able to go again in 2026. That is my aim. So one thing that I've learnt about myself this year in regards to going to events was, look, I did have a few concerns about my energy levels and my stamina being able to attend events that go for most of the day. And people might know this about me. Maybe you can't really tell because I am someone who loves to put my all into communicating and being an I don't know how to describe this. People might not think that I'm an introvert, but I certainly am. And once I am finished up with my events, or I've reached my socializing cap, I crash hard. And one thing that I was a bit, concerned about was how I would be able to withstand some of these long days of being in such like busy social events. But I found that I had been able to weather this storm a lot easier than I expected, and maybe because somehow I was invigorated by the people that came to my table and had a chat with me about my books. And when it is something that you're passionate about, I think that you do have kind of endless energy for. I think that where my concern for my energy levels do come from is some of the experiences that I've had with having COVID, of like every time I had caught COVID, which has been, I've had it maybe 3 times now, I think. Every time that I've had COVID, I do experience a lot of fatigue after having it. So you hear about people that have long COVID, or maybe waning levels of fatigue after brain fog. That was another thing too. That is something that I definitely experienced after having COVID, and it would linger for maybe 3 months at a time, maybe even like 6 months at a time after I would have COVID. And I think it has made a bit of an impact on my energy levels as a whole. But that's okay. That's something that I am acutely aware of, and I try my best to really be self-aware of my energy levels, as also someone who, yes, is an introvert, does get burnt out from a lot of socializing and things like that. So this year has really been such a great year for me to learn a lot about myself, about how to manage some of these events One thing that I definitely do after I do these big events is try to have a nap because I certainly need it. It's funny because when I was younger, and I know that probably my mum can attest to this, and maybe a lot of people can attest to this who have known me throughout my life. I am definitely someone who is go, go, go. I do a lot of different things. I remember even when I was studying at uni, at one point I had about 3 different jobs on the side. I was just someone who would just go, 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 different things, really tried to do everything full force. And I still have a lot of energy for my creative passions and things like that. But this year, and I think the year before, with catching COVID in certain times, has really made me a lot more self-aware of my energy levels. And of course, in my personal life, there's been other things that have impacted my energy levels as well. I've never been someone who has necessarily related to having chronic fatigue. So I certainly wouldn't say that I'm someone who experiences that, because I know for the people that do, it is debilitating and it is a chronic condition that they have to be mindful of. But what I have learned and appreciated is more of a discussion around dealing with protecting your energy in the sense of not overextending yourself, because as an indie author, that is something that can feel like you just have to be on all the time. You have to be on social media posting all the time because you are responsible for the success of your book and your presence and your everything. It all comes down to you. And that's a lot of pressure on an indie author. Yes, there are probably a lot of similarities between that experience of self-publishing and being a traditionally published author. A lot of the responsibility with marketing, for example, does come down to you, even if you are traditionally published. That's something I've learned as well. But in 2025, I have really learnt to prioritize my energy levels and respect that if I am tired, I need a goddamn break, because I think we can all respect that we are all working so hard in this space to do everything ourselves. And not only that, I work full time as a professional graphic designer, so I've got a day job, I've got a life outside of all of that as well, a social life too. So just having a lot of self-respect for my energy levels has been something that has been on the forefront of my mind for 2025, and also accepting that too, because it doesn't make me someone who is lazy or anything like that for just respecting that I need a break. And that's something I think that we can all be mindful of in our own practice, that give yourself the permission to rest, because we have the entirety of our lives to write our books, to post on social media. It will always be there for us to come back to. So take the time that you need to focus on yourself. And so that is why 2025 has certainly been reinvigorating for me, which is because I have learnt so much about my energy levels. A little bit more about behind the scenes of the Darkness in the Flesh manuscript that I had alluded to talking about in the start of this episode. So Darkness in the Flesh, as I mentioned before, it's going to be my second full-length novel, which has been actually quite a challenge to write. It has been the first time that I've written in first person, which might shock some people. A lot of people love writing in first person. For me, I always wanted to write in third person, just because I do agree with, well, not agree, but I like the idea of the fantasy world being its own character itself. So I don't want to necessarily be, well, I sometimes had this misconception that writing in first person would limit yourself to, like it would feel limiting just to focus your perspective through the eyes of one character. But writing Darkness in the Flesh through the lens of the character Gatira has been challenging. For those who have read Still Waters Run Deep, you know that she is an evil character. And it has been really emotionally challenging at some points of the book, the manuscript, to write about a character who does things that I wouldn't do, and a lot of other people that I have in my life wouldn't do. But for someone who has had the experiences that Gatira has, those are the decisions that she makes. And in some ways, writing as the voice of an evil, quote unquote, evil character, because there's a lot of nuance to that title as well, that description as well. It has been challenging, but also strangely cathartic, because I had this discussion, a very brief discussion, with Laura, my editor at Sweet Love Book Fair. She was there as well. And I said how Gatira is probably the one character that I can kind of relate to the most, which is going to sound bizarre, because I can imagine that there's going to be people who read her story and not like her. But for me, I think what I really resonate with Gatira is sometimes the inability to be authentic or to feel trapped in a way that other people might not understand. And also the way that she socializes with other people is something that I can relate to, in the way that sometimes socializing can be such an effort for me. In maybe in some ways it doesn't come natural to me, or I've had to learn how to not put on a mask. Or I think that sometimes you hear that neurodivergent people have to learn social cues and things like that, and I very much relate to that on a personal level. So for the character of Gatira, it did feel a little bit like, yeah, I feel like I could talk about or write about some experiences that I have felt internally. But the difference between the character of Gatira and I is that Gatira probably acts a lot more on those negative emotions and feelings of fear and rage and anger a lot more than I do. That's where we differ. That is something I will say. I think that Gatira as a character certainly is misunderstood, and her story is an expression about growing up in a world where you are not accepted and how do I put this? In living in a world where you're not accepted quite yet by, or the world would, how do I put this? Oh my gosh. I'm just trying to think of the way to describe this. Oh my gosh. Maybe something along the lines of the world isn't quite ready for you yet. That's all I can say. That is how I envisioned her experience to be. But also there's a lot of tender moments in her story. I write about her being in her late teenage years, and there's a lot of pivotal life experiences that she goes through. And I think that is heavily relevant to the experiences maybe I went through in my late teenage years. And that's why I love writing young adult, because I think that those years of your life when you are in your late teens, I felt like I had a lot of eye-opening, really moments of growth that I'll never forget. So that's why I love writing in the young adult genre. And also, yes, it has been challenging to write Gatira's story, but it has been extremely rewarding. So I'm so excited to see the release of that in 2026. Finally, I should get into a little bit of information about what's coming up for the Indie Author Life show next year. We're going to have an episode release every fortnight, which is something that I have been doing so far, but it's official that things are moving on. And can you believe that I now have a sign-up sheet for applicants to be on the show for 2027? My mind is blown. Like I can't get over that people are interested on coming onto the show. So thank you so much to people who have applied to be on the show, and I can't wait to speak to all the people that I have coming up on the show. So let's get into some of the stats about the Indie Author Life show for 2025, kind of like a wrapped 2025 wrapped, so to speak. So as of the moment that I'm recording, we have had a total of almost just under 5,000 total streams and plays. Like, again, mind blown, absolutely unbelievable. So pleased with that. I can't wrap my head around that. It's just, it's so rewarding to see that so many people are wanting to engage with our show and listen to it. So that warms my heart so much. Then we get into the top countries that have listened to the show. Number one, I'm proud to say, is Australia. We love that as an Australian show. That is awesome. Second, we've got the United States. In third place, we have the United Kingdom. Fourth, we have Sweden, which just, I can't wrap my head around that. That is so cool. Then in fifth place, we have Spain. Again, if you had told me this time last year that you're going to have listeners listening to your show from the other side of the world, I wouldn't have believed you. But here we are today. Here we are with listeners from across the world. And after the top 5, we have listeners that are tuning in from Ireland, Netherlands, Russia, Germany, Canada, Belgium, and Brazil. I mean, one of my goals next year will be to have a listener from, or have a country represented from every continent on the world. That would be the next goal. That would be incredible. So let's make that happen. So this year we have published about 30 episodes and had 28 guests on the show. Amazing. All of the guests that I've had on the show have taught me something and also educated me on something that I did not know of. Every single guest that I've talked to on the show has been such a pleasure. Every single guest has come on with such an amazing attitude, and all of them have been really excited to be on the show, which I can't ask for anything more, because I know it's a lot for people to come on the show, but for every single person to show up and be so enthusiastic, not one person has had low energy at all. And maybe they could say in their own experience, it was a nerve-wracking experience to go on the show, but none of that ever came across. And every single person has been such a joy to talk to. So thank you to everyone that has been on the Indie Author Life show this year. You all mean so much to me. So thank you. So the top platform that has that the listeners have been engaging with our content with has been, of course, Substack, where this video has originally been published. After that, we have Apple Podcasts, we've got Spotify, Pocket Casts, and Castbox. As far as the total minutes published for this year, over 2,000, and that's not including this video too, which we're going to add on another 60 minutes for that, or however long this video will be. So wow, absolutely like mind-boggling. And finally, some of the special milestones that this that the Indie Author Life show have had has been one of my favorite moments this year has had to be doing the interview with my mum Oh my goodness, that was so fun to do. And she just killed it. She is someone who might not necessarily be familiar with being in front of a camera, but she absolutely just hit it out of the park with her discussions and questions and everything like that. That was such a joy. And I know she was quite nervous about it, but it didn't come across like that. And she did an incredible job. So I think we're going to have her again next year. Maybe if she wants to talk about darkness in the flesh with me or whatever. Shout out to my mum. Amazing, amazing. We love mums here, and dads too, and every single family member. So thank you also to my family as well for all the support that every single person in my family has been giving me throughout this author journey, especially to my husband Ryan. He has been so supportive with all of the events, trips, and everything that I've gone on this year. He is someone who is, not only the love of my life, but my biggest champion as well for my author space. There is nothing that he won't encourage me to do. Every single opportunity that I've spoken with him about, he's like, oh, you've got to do it. Oh, that's amazing. Oh, biggest cheerleader, biggest support. A cheerleader doesn't even feel as apt of describing the emotional fortitude that he shows me with with supporting me on this journey. So thank you so much, Ryan, for everything that you do for me. And also to my beautiful, wonderful friends that also support me throughout this author journey. I again can't thank you all enough for the encouragement and for letting me actually talk and rabbit on about my author woes and things like that. It means so much to me to have so many wonderful supporting forces in my life. Also, a shout out to my work friends in the graphic design world. You know who you are. Again, they've supported me so much with this creative endeavor, so I can't thank them enough. And finally, a massive, massive, massive thank you to the listener. All you listeners out there, all you viewers out there of my content and supporting the Indie Author Life show. I can safely say that this is only the beginning of a project that may have just started kind of on a whim, where I wanted to chat to one of my friends, SK May, in the author space, that had swiftly turned into a place where I can have in-depth discussions with fellow creatives out there. And it has been such a joy to do that. So thank you to every single person that has tuned in, given us a like, a follow, a subscription to whatever platform that you listen or watch the Indie Author Life show on. Thank you. And 2026 is going to be bigger and better than ever. So with that, I would like to say again a massive thank you, and I would like to wish you all a very safe and happy holiday period at the end of this year. I hope that you are able to spend some time with family and get some time off in this busy end of year period that we have, and bring on 2026, because we have some good things coming up. So stay tuned for that, and I am sending lots of love to you all. Thank you again. And that's me done. Bye. Thank you so much for watching the Indie Author Life show. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you want to know more about my own literary journey, or the journey of some of our guests that you might have seen on the show, please consider subscribing or following my Substack or my YouTube channel. Finally, if you want to know more about my novel, Still Waters Run Deep, it is available on many distribution websites such as Amazon, Etsy, Baventi, you name it. All that information will be in the show notes if you're interested in learning more about my story to do with elemental magic and coming of age. Take care, everyone, and see you in the next episode.